Journey to Truth is going to Hawaii. Join us in 2026 for Journey to Truth's first ever vacation conference on the Big Island at the beautiful Queen Emma Community Center in Kona. Enjoy Hawaii as we travel to sacred sites and connect with our Lemurian past and reactivate the land. It's time to get our bodies moving and take a boots on the ground approach to the awakening. We'll also be making a trip to Volcano National Park to pay our respect to Pele, the goddess of fire. We'll then journey to the water for an ocean adventure with our multi-dimensional aquatic family. We'll gear up and head to the harbor as we set sail under the sun for an activating day on the water while we experience the Hawaiian ocean life like never before. Enjoy Hawaiian sunsets and walks on the beach while connecting with Soul Family and learning a few things from our amazing lineup of speakers. Aloha! Grab your ticket today at journeytotruth.online and join us for this once-in-a-lifetime activating getaway.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. A few announcements before we get started. As always, we have our Hawaii conference coming up in April. It's right around the corner, 5 months away, actually. If you're interested in joining us on the Big Island for a vacation conference, tickets are available on our website at journeytotruth.online. It's April 20th through the 24th. On the Big Island, as I mentioned, we're going to be getting on a boat, going out into the ocean with the dolphins and whales, going to some sacred sites, visiting Volcano National Park, along with a great lineup of speakers, actually, and we're super excited about it. It's going to be like a retreat / conference / vacation. And if you're interested in joining us, it's going to be a once in a lifetime opportunity. We may not be going back there for another event, who knows? But I would grab a ticket now. It's over half sold out, and it's not, it's in April, so there's still 5 months away. It's already over half sold out. So if you want to join us, you can do that at our website, journeytotruth.online. Today, we are joined by Rebecca Barron, who is a consciousness teacher and remote viewer. She's an MK Ultra survivor, and you might know her from her channel Find the Light, or her page on YouTube. Facebook is how I found her originally. Her reels, which really caught my attention. So I guess what you do is like remote viewing journeys, and you tap into certain information. The one specifically that caught my attention, you were tapping into celebrities being clones and like kind of like reptilian bloodlines and hybrid humans and stuff like that, which is right up our alley because I know all that stuff's true, and I don't think enough people understand that, at least the collective. So I would like to get into that eventually today, but I also would love for you to share some of your story as a MK Ultra survivor and what that looked like for you, what that journey has been like. And I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself a little better. And welcome to the show. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
It's a big story, really. I suppose a part of me, I do remote viewing, and with my psychic abilities, I'm able to understand the brain and how the brain works. I help people understand themselves. And my story, how I got into that was basically I started getting my psychic abilities opened up, and I started getting attacked. Getting attacked, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. And so those attacks led me to basically memories that I had as a child, what I went through as a child. I went through trauma-based mind programming, which was run by the British royal family. I met the British royal family. They were in charge of the programming, and it took me many, many years to retrieve all my memories. But within that time, also discovered more and more abilities that I had, and also how the system is run, the satanic system, and how the satanic system links everything together, the governments, the Vatican, the royals, the religions. It's all run on the same energy frequency. And I suppose when I woke up and I started using my abilities, I started to upset the establishment. So they basically came after me. But with that, I started to learn how they worked, their weaknesses, how they got into me, how they got into my brain, and I started to understand that they were not human. And then also with the retrieval of memories, I started to also remember that I knew that they weren't human. So, and then, yeah, in a nutshell, I suppose it's I've been kind of pushed into well, freedom. I want my freedom and understand what happened to me, and also help other people. So I dedicate my work is about helping others understand themselves and then become free also.
That's
Yeah.
beautifully put.
Amazing.
You did a great job putting that into a nutshell, and I think it's very interesting that the royal family was involved in your memories. I know you've done some videos on Queen Elizabeth and not even being human, potentially reptilian, and so what were your you don't have to get into any graphic details, but what kind of memories were you having that involved them, and how were they showing up in your life?
Um, well, there's I have a few memories. So one, I was taken to the royal family at the palace. I had a handler. He was a man that lived in the village that I lived in, and they were deciding what path I was going to go on. Like they were deciding what programming that was going to go on. So I was in front of many members of the royal family, and although it looked like um, they had they had some power, ultimately it was the Queen Elizabeth, that decided what road I was going to go on. The programming that I went on was basically, well, to split me from myself. Trauma, as it we are our bodies are created, but we are light that comes into the body. And when trauma is inflicted on us, our light recedes back. So they wanted me completely detached away from myself so they could then have more of my mind. Um, so I would go into a program room in London, and a lot of it was sexual abuse. It was rape. It was other things that took place was to get me to be very frightened of myself, to see myself as a dark person. And they did that. Um, One is quite horrific, but I recount this in my book because they do it on a big scale to all of to all of us. So um, I was taken to there was a program room in BT Towers in London, and I was taken there. And one time I was taken there, I must be about 5 or 6 years old, and they would bring baby animals in. They would kill the animal in front of me, and then we'll start the killing, slit their throat, and then walk away. And I would be in this horrible little room until that animal died, and then another one would happen, and another one would happen. And then after that trauma that took place, I was taken to a flat in London where I went into a flat of Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile was very connected to the royal family,
Mhm.
where he raped me, and then after the rape, he kneeled down and told me that I had killed the animals. He'd, and the reason they inflict trauma and then tell you something different, because when trauma is inflicted on a human being, the heart moves away, and then our heart is truth. It knows the truth of things. But
Mhm.
when you're traumatized, your heart recedes from the body, and then the mind is left really vulnerable. And then you are told what they want you to believe. And this is what they do with like terrorist attacks and everything like that. They traumatize us, and then we get scared, and then the news tells us what's happened. And they do it that way because we're very susceptible to believe lies. So I started to learn through the memories, each memory that came back, what they do on a bigger scale to all of us. So although it's quite intense what I went through, it understood like how they work. Yeah.
Right, and yeah, I mean, that's their playbook. They gaslight you. They gaslight the entire collective into believing these non-truths, and it's their narrative, their version of the truth. And a lot of
Mhm.
times they actually believe their own lies because, I mean, that's just the nature of a psychopath, right? So
Mm.
it's sad, but it's the hard truth. And this is what we're doing today is, exposing this stuff so we can bring it to the surface and heal it. And then like what you're doing is actually taking that journey, that trauma, and now you're using that to help other people. And I think that's a great thing. And that's really the ultimate end game, I think, for somebody in your situation. If you can get to a place where you can understand that it actually built you into somebody maybe better, because now you can have that understanding and help other people in a way that you just wouldn't have been able to. And so it really puts you on your path. And so there's a silver lining at the end of the day, but that doesn't take away from the horrific crimes against humanity and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I help people heal. I'm not the healer, they're the healer, but I give them that light or their understanding so they can heal, and I've been able to do it. So that belief and trust in myself, then I know they can do it. So you just project, I'm like, if I can heal, everyone can heal. That's the feeling I have. So yeah, and obviously all the knowledge, I had to really understand the brain and how the brain works, and that's helped me understand when people come to me, their perceptions, their beliefs, how we evolve is through the connection to our heart that overturns the DNA, and that DNA that's we've been messed with genetically by ETs, and in order to overcome that is actually coming more into the body and not out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how did you come to the conclusion that the royal family and these people involved are non-humans or hybrid humans, as you call them? Like, what gave you how did you understand that?
Well, they didn't act humane. They act inhumane. There was one memory I was in a room in the palace, and the queen was there, and she basically changed completely. The way she moved across the room, and she completely changed into a reptilian. So that was one indicator. And another indicator is I was walking through a room in the palace, and they were eating fetuses as we
Mm.
would eat chicken. Yeah, that was, and that was it was a very because it was the way or the satanic rituals and like what we like horrendous stuff, and they would be happy. It wasn't. It was just like a complete screwed up reality. They live in a very very different reality to us.
Right, and it's my understanding that they look down on humans or humanity, like they think they're better than us, and I think that
Mhm.
that explains the behavior.
Yeah. Then when I started getting attacked, so then I started to understand that there's people, but they don't. Um, I'll call them hybrid humans. So basically, with the MK Ultra, um, what they do is that they traumatize children, so they would be the host for the reptilian. So the reptilian will take over that body. So the people that were coming after me were like these hybrid humans. So they would attack me, and they look human and everything like that, but they behave very differently.
Right, so and I know you mentioned this in one of your videos, they need sex to stay connected to the host body, like, they do this through sexual manipulation, I guess, and they loose harvest that sexual energy. Can you explain that a little more? And I guess that would explain, like, the pedos and the rape and stuff, but how did you come to that understanding?
The the programming that I went through, the relationships were set up for me. So there was two relationships that were set up for me. In the second relationship that I was in for 7 years, um, there was a lot of sexual abuse in that relationship, and he was I suppose, a sex addict. And after we separated, he started to attack. And then I started to realize that this man wasn't a human being, that he was a hybrid human, that body had been actually the reptilians that took over his body. There was 4, and those reptilians were involved in my programming as a child. And then with like I do a Q&A every couple of weeks, and more information comes up, and people that come to see me, I start to gather more information. But in order to stay in this reality, they need a host, and that host, to stay connected, they're sex addicts, so they need to they're on survival, and they then turn the host into a sex addict, and that keeps them connected to the host body. Yeah.
Right, and if you
So
actually what?
experiences.
What's that?
Yeah, personal experience actually. So yeah.
Yeah, and if you look around, I mean, they're promoting a hyper-sexualized society anyway. I mean, that's what's being pushed through any of the social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, all of those. It depends on which community you're in. Like, our communities, obviously, we're kind of like existing in a pocket reality outside of that. But if you're just in the mainstream matrix, that's all you see. I know because that's where I came from in the party scene and the music, and it's just the videos that you watch. It promotes hypersexuality and literally creates sex addicts. And I would argue that a large majority of the population have things, entities, maybe reptilians working through them, to kind of fuel their whole system. You know.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of when you become aware of it, it's like you see it everywhere, don't you? You're like, "Ah, that's why it's like that." Yeah, it's like a sex sells. No, it's much deeper than that.
Right, and I know you mentioned Disney also in one of your videos, and that was, like, one of the hard things for you to overcome is understanding what's behind Disney, and it's also kinda ran by these reptilians or non-humans as well, and can you kind of explain maybe what came through that remote viewing session?
Oh, wow. Well, I've done so many. So the Disney one, um, I think that was one where Disney, took the children to Epstein's Island. I think that was that one. So there's so many. So, yeah, so the parents, like, "Okay, my children have been picked," and we're all excited, and they get told they're gonna be put in movies and blah, 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 be famous and all this sort of stuff, but the children are then taken to be very abused by the system, and, there's very a small percent that go on to, and you don't want, so that like the parents get lied to and deceived of what's going to happen to their children, and unfortunately they go into the hands of the predators.
Mhm.
Yucky stuff.
So, going back to your childhood, your story, and your parents, like, what was if you feel like sharing that, I'm sure that do you believe that they played a role in any of this, or does this, like, something that's happening through your family line and genetics, or is it something specifically that you took on, for a higher purpose, maybe?
Oh, how I perceive it. I mean, I've gone through many, feeling very victimized by it, very unfair. This shouldn't have happened, all that. But now, with what I do now, it's like I came in to learn. I came in to learn how they worked. I came in to understand. I came in to heal, and then I came in to teach people how to heal. Um, so it was like, although I kn- we know what we're going to come into. So I think I knew what I was going to come into. And so although that they were trying to destroy me as much as they could, I was also learning their weaknesses and understanding them and how they worked, and then also how reality works. So with why I was picked, I was picked. What I think is that I was picked because I was a battery. I was a battery to keep that system lacks natural light consciousness, and they work as a Connolly. So although being attacked, being siphoned off energy by one hybrid human, it would go. The light of me would go into the Connolly. It would affect the whole Connolly, kind of thing. It would benefit. So they need. humans to keep the colony alive. So I was like a battery, and so I assume that's why they kept me alive. And yeah, so I had to sort of heal in order to detach from them.
You
Yeah.
gonna say something, Aaron?
Well, yeah. So how did you escape that? Because I think I've heard a lot of people hear these stories and they assume, well, if that was true, this person would never be allowed out of that. They wouldn't be alive. They wouldn't be allowed to blow the whistle in the first place. I totally disagree with that. But I think more people need to explain how that works, like how you
Mm.
got out of that and how you're able to still be alive to this day to tell your story and blow the whistle on that.
Yeah. How to get out of it? It's not easy getting out of it because they every trauma that I had a part of their energy. If it was Jimmy Savile, it was the Queen. If it was Prince Philip, people from the system in my energies. So and then they could link easily into me. So I had to heal, and that's taken an enormous amount of time, like 10 years. And then I had to wake up to the reality around me. So they placed people in my life that were not human partners, my last partner, and tried to normalize situations that weren't normal. And that's what they do. So to wake up to the fact that the prime programming um, was actually to go to my truth and connect with myself and see it, and I had to face all my fears. If that was rejection, not love, loneliness, everything, I basically had to walk by myself and see the truth of my reality. To be able to walk out, I had to see the lies and the manipulation and the deception around me, and that's not easy because you want to be in the lie, because you want to believe the world is a nice place and the people in your life love you and care for you. To wake up, they don't, and they're very manipulative and abusive and deceiving. But when I walked away from the relationship, all guns went. So it was like another battle I had to go through. So from the system, and that system led me to the CIA. It's led me to um, like understanding the system more. So I've been attacked by the system so much. So when I got to every time I've broken free, the reaction is to attack and to try to destroy me as much as they can. And the way out of it was through my heart, because I couldn't listen to my brain because my brain had been programmed. So I had to really trust my heart in order to find the way out. And why haven't they killed me? Um, Good question. I know when I was young, I have had a feeling that they wouldn't kill me because they saw me as too valuable for them. And as I grew up, I started to understand that value because I was liked and I fed the system. So as I started to break out the system, I started to understand that. But they've wanted me dead. And although they haven't killed me, it's like they have attacked me so much where I've wanted to kill myself, like gone into my trauma and like how many times I've had to drag myself out of the darkness. Um, but yeah, it's been a really tough road, but it's got easier and easier and easier. So although, I can't say I'm totally free from attacks, but I'm much stronger within myself than I've ever been. But they still, there's still energies about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And real quick, I want to say, and you kind of hinted on that like, well, they see you see you as valuable. That's why they haven't killed you, and they try to destroy you, try to get you to kill yourself. Because what I've gathered is that, I mean, number one, our true selves are bigger than all of this. Is we like they're disconnected from source. So, like you said, they need us to power. We're like a battery because they are disconnected. So instead of having the natural energy from source, they have to parasite off of other beings that are us. But they have to manipulate to do that. And it's almost like they know if they just outright kill a lot of people, that backfires. And number one, that backfires massively a lot of times. Number two, there do seem to be universal laws in place that they know, and they know they have to play by. It's like the rules, so to speak. And that's why, like, they have to always tell us, like, why are they always putting stuff in plain sight? Why are they always telling us what they're doing? That's because those are the rules. They have to. Otherwise, I think if they don't play by a certain universal law, it's like they won't be allowed to do what they're doing. So they kind of like understand the game, and I think that also prevents that a lot of times. But it always hinges on you and what you do. So like if you wake up to your power, if you wake up to the game and heal like you did, I think that prevents them from going so far to actually taking you out a lot of times. And and then, it's almost like there's been certain insiders even that have said this, and they talk about it in that way, and um, they say they understand they can't kill they call them the Red Cross workers or the light workers. They can't unless they're authorized to do so. And it's like they understand this, right? But they do everything they can to manipulate you into authorizing them to either do that or into feeding into their system, right?
Right.
So the second you wake up enough and you heal enough to where you're not able to be manipulated anymore, you're not able to be a cog in their machine. It's almost like you've now exited that game. So their goal is to keep as many people as possible in that game. And what I see happening right now on the planet is that's falling apart rapidly, and they're scrambling because their machine that's been a well-oiled machine just running smoothly for so long is finally coming apart at the seams very quickly, and they're desperate, and that's why they're lashing out so much right now, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you have more insights on like what do you think's happening right now on the planet? Because that's what I see happening. I see a lot of positive.
Yeah, I see loads of positives. I see the desperation and the systems that they've created, if the governments and the religions and the medical, all these systems that they've created, and trying to keep him afloat and not. They're really, really struggling. So the energies overall feel so much lighter, and more people waking up, which is fantastic. Yeah. So yeah,
Right.
just much easier than it was. Oh my God, a few years back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
you're 100% spot on, and I wrote about this in my book as well. As soon as we begin to break programming, that's when they double down. They send in reinforcements to try and throw you off again or trying to suck you back in. And that's still going on. And that's part of the desperation. And, I've even recently dealt with some of that. So the attacks, like it's like this, push and shove, these moves and counter moves always. But as we break free from that, there's still somehow teams, I don't know how they're still keeping an eye on us and monitoring us, but they know whenever you're about to break free. And then that's whenever something comes in to throw you off. And it's up to you to have that discernment and see it and feel into it with your heart, like you said, and understand the manipulation or the trick or the devil, devil in disguise. It's their whole name of the game is to create weapons that we can't recognize. So things happen in our life that we might think are organic. Like you said, you want to believe that everyone's a good person. And sometimes the people that they're working through are unaware of that the fact that they're being used to get to you. So it's very complex, and they're unfortunately evil geniuses as far as that go. But once you see it, you can start to identify where you think the deception or manipulation is in your life that's trying to throw you off. And it will continue to happen, I think, until we get so far out of that to where they just kind of understand that they can't reach you anymore. But then something could happen in your life that creates a chink in your armor, and they will try to exploit that and drag you down. So it's a constant battle. We're not out of this yet, but stories like yours is proof that we can pull ourselves out of it. And I think that's kind of the whole overall message here is that there's a way out, and then we can heal from this.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's not I haven't really spoken to people that have been attacked, but yeah, the attacks would come, and then a bloom would happen later on, very shortly after. It was like they knew the bloom was going to happen to stop. So and it's made me I could only trust myself, believe in myself, because the people around me, couldn't. I mean, I've had an amazing mother, amazing mum, and the people that I help I have to be in my heart, and my heart has really kept me on track. So it's yeah,
Right.
for the heart, yeah.
So let's talk about some of the journeys that you do, like on your Patreon and stuff. And in particular, I just would love to ask you about the celebrity cloning and stuff. And like, to what end? Why are they cloning these celebrities? I know you've tapped into this. How many celebrities do you think are cloned? And like, what's going on there? Like, there's a motive, obviously. Like, there's surface level explanations, but what do you think's the deeper meaning behind that?
Well, I did a remote view. Just somebody asked on a question and answer session about Tom Cruise. I think it was Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. So I did this live, and as I went to Nicole Kidman, she told me that she was dead, and I was like, and this has happened with quite a few celebrities I've looked at, like I'm not alive anymore. And then, and then, so what is in place? Because obviously it's not. And she said it's a clone. And then she started to tell me that she was approached by a cloning company, and they said, "Look, we can create these clones." And they grow a clone to a full size clone, depending on how old the person is, within a year. And within a lab, they need the DNA, and can they take the DNA? They created like 5 or 6 clones for her, and this was brilliant because then she doesn't have to do the work or the premiere. She could just live her life. So she was telling me all this, and then she said, but that's when it all went wrong. And because the cloning company, they make a percentage of each premiere or each work that the clone did. They looked after the cloning company, and then the rest of the money, say like 80% of the money, would go to Nicole's estate. She said, but in the contract, if I died, they would get 80% of the money and 20% would go to my estate. And she said she didn't, not that she thought about it at the time, but then after she was diagnosed with cancer, and then she got over that, and then she was diagnosed again with cancer. And then after that diagnosis, shortly after, she killed herself because she didn't want to go through chemo again. So, and then she said, when I died, I realized there was no cancer at all. So there was like an active of trying to get rid of her, because the cloning company wanted to make more money out of the clones that were active. They would make way more money. I've done the deeper reason because they're just psychopaths and they want to control life and manipulate life. And also I've done like a future, not that it's going to happen, but there was the fires in Hollywood, and they want to turn that in. They get rid of all the Hollywood people and turn it into basically a smart city. And there's, it's basically clones and rich men, and it's they don't. It's all money based, and like Elon Musk is in that, and it's just this very heartless world. It's interesting actually because the reptilians were created by a being called the Watchers, and they live in another universe, and they use the reptilians as an interface to get into this reality to take over the minds of human beings. When I many years ago discovered the Watchers, they live basically in a dystopian world. There's no life, like they live on technology, and obviously that's the way that the human beings, if this awakening wasn't happening and this evolution wasn't happening, that would be the way that we would be going. So they're just recreating what they've created in another reality. So we're seeing aspects of that.
Wow.
Explains a lot.
Yeah, that's absolutely fascinating. So going back to the cloning thing really quick, basically Nicole Kidman, for example, was worth more dead than alive. And I think I've actually heard the exact same story about Michael Jackson. The same with him. He was worth more dead than alive. In fact, a lot of musicians, the record labels, it's in the fine print whenever you sign a contract. And I'm sure it's the same with actors and actresses. There's something in that fine print where the company that their handlers, whoever the record label is, whatever that the situation is, there's an incentive for them, and they're worth more than dead than alive. And I forgot who, Cat Williams, I forgot the whistleblower that said that about Michael Jackson, and they knew that they could become basically filthy rich if he was gone and still sell. And in fact, they take advantage of that death, and all of a sudden, there's an uptick in the record sales and all that stuff, and that's money in their pockets. And that, like you said, that's all they care about is the money. And you would like to think that there's something more to it than that, but I mean there is, but that's like the primary driving force is this money, right? And
Yes.
but I think that's all coming to a head. I think we're going to start to see some changes within the financial system and stuff as well. And the California fires and the 15-minute city stuff, and just kind of being populated with clones that they can control, or they're NPCs. I think that makes a lot of sense, but I don't think that they're just getting away scot-free anymore. I think they're trying, but I think that there's some pushback, and there's people in place, or at least behind the scenes, that are trying to stop that from happening. And there's a true shadow war going on that we just don't see. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, totally. Oh my God, totally. Yeah. Yeah, we've been in a spiritual war for a very long time. And, it's like, I feel like, just breaking free and seeing the reactions of it, and just talking. I did that Nicole Kidman one. I got contacted by a very well known. He does a podcast. He's in Hollywood basically, and I'm like tiny, and it was just it's on a 3D level. They just wanted to screw me up. I had Oprah Winfrey's assistant contact me, and on one of her shows, and I'm like, it was like they're just trying to screw to
Well,
get me, kind of thing, like on a 3D level. And that's the first time it's come out on the 3D level, because everything, there's the system behind the system, the energies that go on, um, with the CIA to the reptilians to it has been really intense. And I see that, like, the fall of the Vatican, understanding that, and that's all linked to all the governments around the world. And the reason they like money so much is because they lack so much light. And when somebody's got so much light within their body, they feel very content. And when someone lacks light in their body, they're not content, and they need that feeling of abundance, because light brings us abundant contentment. So they replace that with money. And that's why they get obsessed with money. It doesn't matter how much money they have, they will never feel like we feel, because they don't have the light running through them. So just become parasites. And this is why money is such a big thing for them, because they're trying to replace the light, but they don't have the light. They'll never be content, because they're heartless. They've got no. Yeah.
They lack true wealth and true abundance within. So they try to recreate it without, right? It's like the false version. And then they're disconnected from source within, so they try to control everything outside of them. And that's just what psychopaths do in general too, because there's many studies that have been done on, like, the brain of psychopaths and how it works, and like how they operate, and it's like almost completely opposite of how we operate. It's like they don't have empathy at all. So they could kill people, they can torture, they can do whatever horrific stuff, and they feel zero empathy. And in fact, they almost have to do things like that to feel something, and they get addicted also to, and they're like, oh, I have to keep doing more and more crazy stuff to feel alive at all.
Well, that was like what Max Spears called they're addicted. Max Spears said they're addicted to the pleasures of the flesh, basically.
And that's exactly that, right?
And he explained it like there are things in the 3D form that they can't enjoy from their higher versions of themselves. So, in fact, that they are addicted to the 3D reality, because the pleasures of the flesh, whatever that means to them, they're addicted to that, right? And they're also trying to escape their own karma. They think that they can live forever, and they do have age extension, life extension technologies, age reversal, all that stuff is real. And in my opinion, they're so focused on that, obsessed with that, is because they believe that they can escape their own karma by living forever. And I think
they know they've accumulated a ton of negative karma. Yeah, exactly. They know that. They're full aware, but they don't want to face it. Exactly, right.
Right.
So that's the whole point of this transhuman and the
So
integrate into AI and technology so you can live forever. Well, that's what they want to do. And then they want to do that so they escape their karma and that they can live in this reality forever. They want you hooked up to that so that you can be a slave fully locked down to them forever.
right.
That's how that whole thing
Right.
works. Right.
Yeah. So did you have anything to say to that, Rebecca, before we move on to the next thing?
No, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Do you
just
have any example?
fascinated. Yeah,
Yes.
fascinated.
So going back to the celebrities, what percentage of celebrities would you say, as far as, that you've tapped into, are actually clones and they have died? Like, Britney Spears would be an obvious one. I think that it's very apparent that they've messed with her, and whether she's alive or not, I don't know. But I think
Yeah, I
there's
know.
probably like Eminem. A lot of people come to mind that I wonder if it's even them anymore,
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to do a Q&A just on celebrities, looking at celebrities, but yeah, because they come up once in a while. But yeah, I wouldn't, Tyler, I wouldn't be able to say a percentage. But it seems like they clone them very young. As you know, they know the rising stars. They're like, right, you're going to be a star. I know Disney, it's like an automatic thing. So they have the clones, but how many are actually real and alive, the original? I'm not sure. But yeah, I did a really harrowing one with Britney Spears, and she was in the system and child prostitute, and it just worked up all the system. It was just horrendous, and they killed her just after the court case. So yeah, it's quite horrific. You don't want to be a celebrity in Hollywood, that's for sure.
Right, right. So would you be interested in, I guess, demonstrating for us, like a remote viewing session? Like if we had a question for you, would you be interested in doing something like that now? Or
Yeah,
is that
you want,
okay?
yeah.
So, and then that's something I didn't know how that works for you. If you have to like prepare, you need to do your questions ahead of time or whatever.
You can ask what you want. So every couple of weeks on my Patreon channel, people all over come together and they just ask me questions. I never know what they're going to ask me. And then obviously I look at people for, I do that on Patreon as well. So it's like looking. So yeah, so you can ask whatever you wish and I can look if you want me to have a look at you or something about cloning or whatever. I don't mind.
You can have a look at me. I don't know if I want to do that publicly. No, I wouldn't mind. But so you do personal sessions like that for people then? Is
Yeah,
that
that's my work is helping
okay?
people understand themselves. Yeah.
Okay. Um, could you do like a collective thing for the podcast, like Aaron and I? Is that something that you do, or is it something more of like what? Like, okay, I guess give me an example of what type of questions people ask you.
Well, if people could ask about cloning, they could ask about politics, they could ask about consciousness, how consciousness work, ETs, they could ask about illnesses and the origins of illnesses. And then obviously on a personal level, people are asking me about, if they come to me, they could be ill and they want to know why the illness is within their body, about relationships, about their job, about their struggles that they're having in their life. And I kind of basically connect to myself and then I have a look and I have a look at their brains basically and see how their brains are working because all the trauma that we have as a child needs to be healed. And when you're on the path of waking up and you basically bring all those energies back in order to face those challenges again, in order to build up the boundaries that weren't built or trigger the inner child to heal that emotion so that emotion can come out. So it's like understanding why the person is creating what they're creating in their life, what their challenge is. Yeah.
Interesting. I love that. I guess we'll just kind of cater to the audience here right now. So, um, disclosure, ET disclosure is on the horizon. It's everywhere now. This big documentary just came out. It's like the trending topic. They're painting it as a threat, but a lot of people claim that there's a very benevolent ETs as well that are kind of helping and assisting individuals and humanity. could you tap into that and see like how prevalent that is and how much help we actually have, if any?
Okay. Yeah. So, help from ETs, what type of help we have from ETs? Okay. Let's have a look. Okay. Okay. So I'm just walking to the center of myself. So it's like my mental mind is connecting more to my heart. And as I connect to my heart, there's been many ETs that have broken into this reality. They shouldn't be here. And but there are visitations that people experience from ETs through their heart, to help them wake up and to help them understand that they are far more than they are led to believe. More than you're not just a human being, you're a being of light, and that light can transform into many different types of beings. And you may have lived different types of beings in previous lives or parallel lives. Um, there is a system, a dark system, to get people that are woken up, tapped into a mental system where ETs visit them. Now, the evolved ETs won't do this because there's manipulation, deception in those systems to get you to be more mental on your mental side and keep you away from your heart. So that ET experience is try to get people in like a matrix system, where they can utilize human beings' minds and believe that they are connecting to a higher power outside of themselves. So, and keep them distracted away from themselves. Because the more you connect to yourself, the more you evolve. So I do see a system, an ET system that, and it's not just real ETs. It's holograms. And also that system is created from belief structures. So people that believe and psyops go around, so they go into that mental frequencies that are created by many, and they will experience certain things, but it's actually just from mental frequencies, mental beliefs. So the only way of truth is to connect to heart. And the more you connect to heart, you kind of lose that feeling of wanting to connect to ETs outside of yourself, because you're everything that is, and you don't deem anybody higher or lower. Therefore, all you need is yourself. So that the ET thing is very highly manipulated, I feel. And there's ETs that manipulate human beings on this planet. But there can be experiences, or have been experiences, that help wake people up. Is the disclosure. There is energies that I see, like CIA energies, that are very dark and get people in fear. Um, and then there's another, a lighter version of that. So they split the consciousness, split people, be frightened of the ETs or welcome this energy in. And what's actually happening to humans when they go into that system is they stay on their mental mind, and it's good guy, bad guy, which is massive programming that you see everywhere. Like, and it's heaven and hell, good or bad, and it kind of completely loses the understanding of a deeper understanding of who we are and what's going on.
Wow,
It's powerful.
that resonates
Yeah.
fully with me, and I think it was beautifully stated. I love watching you, tap into that. I agree 100% that we've seen firsthand the people who are connected with certain groups of ETs, whatever it is. Maybe it's not even an ET, maybe it's an intelligence agency posing as ETs, or maybe it's ETs working for the intelligence agencies, or whatever it is. But we've seen that time and time again where the people, these contactees, put their contact on a pedestal, right? And then
Mhm.
that contact, that ET, that group makes them feeds off of their ego or their wounds. It makes them feel special, and then they're the ones who think that they have all the information and only I can get the information. So we know that is definitely a red flag when it comes to like if somebody's talking like that, you can kind of understand that they're probably being heavily manipulated. Doesn't mean that they're not connected to something real, but it might not have their best interest or humanity's best interest in mind. We've also interviewed people who are very much connected with something, a benevolent group or being that is only working through them, through their heart, and helping them better themselves and understand, like, this isn't, it's not about us, it's about helping us realize that we have all the power. We don't have to give our power away to something outside of us. So we've seen both sides of that coin, and everything you said, absolutely, I agree with.
Yeah. Thanks. I do. I learned so much. I love doing the question and answer sessions because I never know what's going to be asked. So it's just learning all the time, and it makes and it's so uplifting because it's like you realise we're not all screwed. Do you know what I mean? There's so much that's going on and so much positivity that's going on Earth at the moment in our universe, which is amazing. Yeah.
Right. Aaron, did you want to ask her a question?
Let me think.
Well, I mean, I can ask.
So,
Okay, go ahead.
So what is happening right now, in terms of, there's a lot of fear being put out there, as we just talked about. There's a lot of seemingly scary stuff going on, but if you understand, that's just a symptom of, in my opinion, the control system being dismantled and of, um, we're kind of in the chaotic phase of transition from the old world to the new coming in.
Yeah.
And that's why things are so chaotic. But, do you see, or is there going to be a lot of, is it going to be very long and drawn out and chaotic for like a really, really long time? Or is this going to be a very short-lived period of that where we start seeing really the old system pretty much going, like, being fully out of control in, let's just say, within our lifetimes, and then the new earth kind of springing up within our lifetimes? Or is it going to be much farther in the future? That's what I think a lot of people want to know, is like, well, how soon is this disclosure or this change happening? It's like, it just, sometimes it can seem like it's way far
Okay.
on the horizon, but I think it's
Right.
a lot sooner than that.
Yeah.
But curious.
Okay. Okay. I'll do it. I'll do a deeper journey in this one and see what my heart tells me. Okay. So as I go into my heart and I start connecting deeper within myself, everyone's heart, your heart, my heart, leads to collective energy or frequency on this planet. The reason people are waking up is because the planet has woken up, and the planet is coming out of the old frequencies that has once kept us blind. So now I'm kind of like within the planet, but also I can see the planet itself on the outside. So it's like lots of different views of what's taking place. And this universe was broken into, and that breaking into has allowed lots of yucky energies to come in, but that energy is kind of it's harder for them to stay or it's like a portal in this universe that allowed in and out of this universe, and that's closing up. That's what I'm seeing. Now, what's happening to the planet is the atmosphere is changing. The energy of this planet is changing, and that means the atmosphere is changing. So the reptilians here are basically in survival, real survival mode. Where back in probably the 80s, 90s, they were like living it up, But now they're super surviving. And what I see is that systems, they're kind of like it's like shaking. And it collapses. So when I ask about the duration, it's happening now. The massive changes have been happening, and it's continued to happen. And so I'm getting, December, January, February, and the frequencies just getting stronger. It means the light of this planet gets stronger and stronger. the illusion that things are still running will keep on. So I see like the illusion that the governments are still running but aren't. There's stuff like that. There's like lies. It's like the illusion the royal family is still running but they're not. In the UK, like the illusion that they have the power or have any power, and that's kind of crumbling. So it's like the bigger guys at the top of the pyramid have like lost it, and it's like the humans that have been so part of the system are kind of running around like don't know what to do. They're seriously panicking. They're desperate. So what's happened to us on Earth when I just asked that question? So people like us, so lighter frequencies are coming, are here, and that helps with. There's not going to be the massive panic or like, oh my God, because the frequency of the atmosphere is changing. So Mother Earth is basically cushions the atmosphere. So the fears and the insecurities or what's going to take place, people aren't reacting the way that they would do if the planet wasn't changing. And then I just see more people waking up. The energy of the planet feels so good. Like the more deeper you go into yourself, because you are connected to the planet, it feels lovely. And then it's just truth. We live in truth. The atmosphere is of truth. It's very hard to lie, deceive, manipulate. And when people do, it's very easily seen. That's what happens, is that's what the atmosphere is doing. It's like no one can lie, manipulate, or deceive. And if they do, that gets shown up. So everybody has to be authentic with themselves. And it also, it cuts ties because we've lived in a parasitic reality. And the energies cuts off the connections. I say it's the connections that the reptilians have to each other. So they've worked on a different frequency, like a radio. They go into a different radio frequency. And the frequency of the planet cuts it all off. So the reptilian over here and a reptilian over here can't communicate like they used to be able to. And therefore they don't have the power. And it's these hosts that have hosted the reptilians. I could see the reptilian just leaving the host and the host dying, the body dying. So it's like happening now. That's what it feels like. It's like happening now, and will continue throughout the new year, into the new year. So,
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's spot on. I would agree with that. And I guess I'll ask a quick follow-up question to that because you mentioned the atmosphere a number of times, and there is a lot of chatter about chemtrails right now. There's a documentary on Amazon Prime. There's this new series called like Pluribus or something. It's about chemtrails, dumbing down humanity and making everybody the same. But there's a counter narrative that some people are saying, which I don't necessarily resonate with, but I would love to see what comes through, is that some of the spraying that they're doing is actually like dismantling the chemtrails and actually beneficial to us. But to me, that doesn't feel right. I don't think they would spray anything on us. So, um, can you tap into what the chemtrails are actually doing and why because they've been chemtrailing heavier than ever lately, the past couple months, at least where I'm at. So why that's still prevalent, why that's still happening, and what they're doing, and do you think there's a positive chemtrail?
yeah, that doesn't feel right at all. But I'll look. Okay, so I'm in an aeroplane, and within this aeroplane there is like tanks within that tank, and they spray. But the what I hear is it's the atmosphere they're using is so strong that it's not falling down. It's not dispersing in the same way. The atmosphere is changing, and the chemicals are not as strong. Well, they haven't changed, but the atmosphere is changing. We create the atmosphere, and therefore the understanding that we're gaining from the chemicals that are in the atmosphere, the consciousness naturally starts to change in order to overturn it, and that's what's happening. So it's like a desperation that they have to do like more or stronger, or the chemicals have to be stronger, but it's not working. So then I ask, okay, so what are the chemtrails for? What is it that they want to achieve? One is sickness. They want us to not live as long as we possibly can, because of we wake up and we come out of programming and we become more dangerous. So in their eyes, there's too many of us, and they try to decrease the population. That's one level. The pharmaceutical companies experiments, and also there's also consumerism in here. How can they use drugs to get people to consume certain products? It's like a testing that goes on, and this testing is also the chemicals in the sky to the what they blast out through the frequencies with the technology. So they're working with chemicals and different technology frequencies to see how they can manipulate a human being in doing something that they wouldn't naturally do with their heart. So what they would buy. So it's buying consumerism. It's making them sick, weak, and then they would also buy chemicals in order to fix that. So the pharmaceutical companies. I'm just asking if there's anything more that they. I'm just round a table with hybrids, humans, but they're reptilian minds, and they we want the population frightened because they're easier to manipulate. That's what they're saying, and in order to do that, if we attack the body, their mind goes into fear and they go into survival mode, and they'll look up for help, and then they give their power away. So it's a way of traumatizing people, but it also damages the atmosphere. So the trees and the Mother Earth. There's that. I'm just wondering if there's anything more.
What about?
But what I'm seeing is the frequency of our consciousness is overturning the chemtrails. We're much stronger than we think we are.
And I agree. And there's no positive chemtrail that's like countering that. I mean, I don't believe that's true, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm just, is there any? No. My heart's like, no.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the narratives, and unfortunately I see a lot of people believing, is that the white hats, the good guys, have taken control of the chemtrails, and now they're spraying something that's positive for us. And if they trick people into believing that, then they're not going to fight it, you know. And unfortunately, some people follow big influencers online that are pushing that, and they genuinely believe that's the case. And I've had discussions with people. I just simply think that nothing of the light would spray us with anything, because the light is the light. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't.
You don't need to
It's
do that for one. That
right.
makes no
No.
sense.
No, not
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like that sounds like something somebody like made up as a like oh look, it's positive now, so right.
It's a
Or like they just assume that must be happening.
it's a
or,
disinfo
Yeah.
campaign. I think put out by the intel agencies. Like I
or
genuinely.
that, yeah.
I think it's a narrative. The same with a lot of this misinformation out there, disinformation. It tricks you into believing, like the one that we hear some big people saying, "Oh, all the reptilians are gone. They've been cleaned up. We don't have to worry about them anymore. It's liberation." I think that just puts you into this passive, like,
It's also disempowering.
yeah, it's disempowering.
Like, oh, you're not powerful enough to do. They're completely way more powerful than you. So somebody else has to clean them up for you. That's like feeds into that disempowering narrative too, right?
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
So it makes sense that they would also want the people that believe in this stuff to be disempowered, thinking, oh, look, somebody else did it all for you because you're just this little powerless nothing, right?
Right.
Also a disempowering.
But I do agree that the reptilians and all the dark forces are in survival mode, like you just said.
100%.
They're definitely in a survival mode. They're not thriving anymore, which explains a lot, which we talked about already. But have you tapped into any of that before the chemtrails until now?
Oh, probably, but a few years back, I think someone asked about chemtrails, but I can't even remember what I said back then. But yeah, it's I've been doing Q&As for many years. I think when I look at the like the psychops and everything like that, they try and trigger the inner child. And this is why healing is so important, because the inner child wants to be saved and wants to know, like, mummy and daddy are going to save them, or mummy and daddy are going to be happy. And that is like that inner child has to grow up to realize, actually, I'm an adult now, take responsibility. And to rid themselves, we have to rid ourselves of our own darkness, the lies that we tell ourselves, how we deceive ourselves, how we manipulate ourselves. We want a reality, that reality on the outside. We have to do what we want, how we want. So it's like, where do you manipulate it yourself? Where do you deceive yourself? All these sort of things, in order to do you bring more light to yourself, and that has a big effect on the collective, you
Yes.
see.
The
Exactly.
stories we
Yeah.
tell ourselves, that's really the key there because, I've done it. I mean, we've all done it.
Yeah.
Like we tell ourselves or we justify things in our life or even behaviors or ways that we are, and we're lying to ourselves in some cases. And we may not even realize it, but whenever you really sit with that and feel into it and understand, a behavior that you've grown up with that you've just considered normal, why that's actually toxic. And you have to sit with that. And sometimes it's highlighted to you in relationships or people that come into your life, and that's just what that journey looks like. But breaking free from that, that's when you start experiencing true growth and expansion, because you're no longer like on that hamster wheel anymore, and you're kind of able to jump off of that and stop repeating those same lessons, those patterns, right? And I think that's where we're at, and that's why we're always talking about like the inner work and stuff, because it's real. It's real, and that's what you have to be honest with yourself too, and not make sure that you're
Mm.
not lying to yourself, whether you understand you are or not. But you only figure that out if you sit with it, and go within and do whatever that looks like for you. And everybody, their shadow work looks different. It's specific to the individual, different things work for different people. But if you're doing some form of that, I think that it keeps you on the higher timeline, essentially, if there is this split occurring. We've heard about that as well. So there's a lot to analyze and reflect on, but I think, like you said, there's nothing but positive on the horizon, but it's up to you whether you get to experience that or not.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think that's where our power is individually, because it can feel very powerless when you hear about what's going on, but actually we have far more power than we realize. It's like with the chemtrails, the more people realize, um, we naturally change the atmosphere, or we want it gone. So it's like that changes within us.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it's amazing how consciousness works. But yeah, shadow work. And I don't know with you guys, but it's kind of like, it just naturally happens, doesn't it? You think, yeah, I've got this, is great. And then life just slaps you in the face. And it's like, okay, there's another lesson and nothing to, something else to learn. So it's, but yeah, I find that, people come to me because they've woken up and then they've researched all the outside stuff, scared themselves silly, and then they're like, okay, and then they start really working on the deeper aspects of themselves, and that kind of outer world kind of loses
Right.
interest. Yeah.
I just remembered a question I wanted to ask you earlier. So your experiences as a child, your memories with the royal family and all that stuff, did this happen in this reality, in this timeline, or was it like you were abducted and brought in and then put back, like we hear about sometimes? It
No, it happened. Yeah, happened in this reality.
okay,
Yeah.
right. Well, I'm not trying to discount what you're saying, but have you? I'm sure you've heard stories like that where I guess people were essentially taken and they experience these things and then they're put back like in the same time, right? And then their memory is wiped and then they go on about their lives and don't understand that they were literally abducted and brought into this program and did this horrific, or you had to do this horrific stuff. And then
Mhm.
that's like creating a trauma that you don't understand the root of that trauma, which is like scary because if you don't understand the root of it, then how do you ever heal from it, right?
Mhm.
So I was just wondering if it was something like that, but yours happened in like in real time here, like you actually remember, being taken and experiencing time with the royal family and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It's the handler. The handler's daughter was my best friend I grew up with, and things started happening. So just before my awakening, I was woke up just before in my 20s, and I was at her wedding, and the handler, um, he's I hadn't seen them in years because we moved away from the village when I was about 12. And then, obviously, I didn't know I'd been programmed. You don't know. So all these experiences, I wrote my book, but I didn't know. They're completely, I think, uh, if someone told me, I'd like you, they're crazy. And if I hadn't got the memories back, and the memories were so intense, it was like the emotions, they just flooded through. Um, but the handler, with my husband, he invited him to become a Freemason. And things happened on the, as an adult on a physical level, and then when the memories come back, it was, click, click, click kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. You just reminded, I have a question. You just sparked my mind on. So Freemasonry and all these secret societies seem to be that seems to be a huge component of what's going on. Like, that's not the top of the pyramid, but that's definitely like a big tool that they use, or a big organizations that they kind of like infiltrated and use. What's your understanding of how that works? So we see like Freemasons, we see like Jesuits, and these Knights of Malta, these different secret societies operating in government and all levels of power.
Mhm.
Why is that, and how exactly does that work to your understanding? I mean,
Oh,
that's a big question.
I mean, from my understanding of my life, I think when they start in, it's quite innocent, like charity. I think I saw an advert the other day of like Freemasonry advert of it joining, like recruiting people, which was the most bizarre thing. But I haven't looked into, I suppose, the secret societies that we have, like the Fabians, the Freemasons here. But it's compartmentalized, I suppose. And if you look at the brain, so me understanding the brain and viewing the brain, the mental side of us gets compartmentalized. So one part of the brain doesn't understand what the other part of the brain is doing. And the reason our brains get compartmentalized is because we lose contact with our light. And the brain then has to work with the information that it's got and protect. So this compartmentalization, that's what we see in our reality. And through the healing, we lose that. And I think that part of what the mind wants is to know information. It works on understanding information, and because it wants to know information, because it's born to understand oneself, who one is. Yeah, that's the
Right.
biggest driver. And they've used that and manipulated that to get us to understand information outside of us. So it's like we've got a secret and here's a carrot, and then they get people to believe there's a carrot, and that's going to give them this knowledge. But the real knowledge that people need is of themselves. So the brainwaves of us have gone in the wrong direction. We've been manipulated to seek information outside of ourselves rather than ourselves. So like I teach people to remote view, but it's not, it's connection with self, where the brainwaves go in the other direction. So we have all the knowledge within inside our hearts. And these systems, they get people to believe that they have the knowledge into this pyramid. And then before they know it, they're in, like, they have to lose their humanity to go to achieve what they believe is the pinnacle of life, I
Right.
assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very well said. And
Yeah.
as far as I know about the I almost said space program, secret societies is, well, just from my own experience knowing people at the low levels and also reading books and researching it. Well, like Max Spear said it best, like we're all playing the same games, but they have the cheat codes, right? They have the cheat codes, which allows them the occult knowledge. It allows them to tap into the true potential of a human that they keep from us. So, and they keep us, obviously giving our power away. So that's one interesting way to look at it. But what I noticed from some friends of mine that I know, my old neighbor who was a low level Mason, and what I realized that these societies do at the lowest levels is, okay, so what are we doing here on this planet, we all are looking for purpose in life, right? And most people can't find that purpose. They don't know why they're here, what they're doing. No job is fulfilling them. So they find this club, this Freemasons,
Yeah.
and it makes them feel like they have purpose. It makes them feel important. And then
You're super
they move
special too. You
they
know,
move up
see,
in they move up in rank,
yeah.
and it plays on, they've created that disconnect, right? So then it plays on that. So then they give you this path. Oh, look, you don't know where you're going, you're lost in life. Come here, you know. And the same can be said with even religions too, in a sense. But the secret societies are more enticing because it's secret knowledge. And I asked my neighbor, I said, "Can you share anything that you've learned with me?" And he said, "No, in fact, we can't even invite you into the order unless you inquire about it."
They take oaths, like they
Yeah,
swear upon their death that they won't
yeah,
tell the secrets or
yeah.
go against their
S
order. And
Which
these
is
are people in government, so they're all taking all these people in control. You think they're like governments, for example. You think they tell you, oh yeah, we're working for you, for the people, when in fact they're all parts of these secret sites that literally take oaths that say we're working for ourselves at the expense of anything else, and that's it, full stop.
but
So that's common knowledge, that's public knowledge, and you
well,
can find many of these people that are these people, you know.
I would say also, and then Rebecca, I'll let you chime in on this, that there is a level of desperation because if what he told me is true, they're not allowed to go around like the Jehovah's Witnesses and try and recruit you. You have to inquire, right?
Mhm.
And so that's a very strict rule, he said. But the fact that you saw ads at like they're like flyers, like they're trying to like recruit people
Yeah,
over
it was on, I think, Facebook or something. It popped up. I was like,
that,
"Oh my, that's
They're
that's
crazy."
desperate.
that's the desperation.
They never would do that
They're breaking
normally.
their own rules now.
Mhm.
To recruit people. And then I know Scott Walter, he was from Unearthed, America Unearthed TV show. We've interviewed him, and he is a practicing Mason. He's trying to become a 33rd degree Mason, and he's going on tour, speaking at these conferences, sharing all this information now that they've held secret for so long. And he's been given permission by his order that he can share very specific things that they withheld from the public. So he's going around sharing that, but not sharing all of it. So what does that do to people that see that, like, oh, I could have access to this type of information, but there's more? So they're putting that carrot out there even more right now. And it's just something I'm kind of like realizing in real time here, but it's really interesting. And like you said, like all that information, it might be absolutely fascinating and stuff that we probably all should know, but we can tap into all that and more on our own. We don't need some to join some secret society or some order that ultimately leads to the darkness, the path
Secret,
of
yeah.
Yeah,
darkness. Yeah.
Secrecy always breeds that. Like that's the thing. Like light doesn't work, doesn't operate in that way.
Right.
And
Anything.
that's the thing is you hear these stories, you're like, okay, well it started, and I do think it started way, way long time ago in like the Egyptian mystery schools, and even before that, I think, where it was like they were trying to preserve this knowledge, the occult knowledge. They were trying to just preserve it. And then it got turned into a control dynamic instead. And
Right.
then it turned very, very, very dark. Right. And then that's just this, what, just continued on for thousands of years until now it's finally changing.
Right. On my mushroom journey, I asked specifically about the secret space program, whether there was a benevolent side of it, and the answer I got was cancer. They told me it was like a cancer
Mhm.
to the solar system, but they also said anything, like a quote from a mushroom trip, anything birthed in secrecy is not of the light. It's just simple as simple as that. So that apply accordingly. So.
yeah.
Um, yeah, any thoughts on that, Rebecca? And then we'll start wrapping this up.
Um, yeah. I mean, I with the, I suppose, Freemasonry, when I the memories that came back, it goes really, really dark. So they really have to sacrifice all their humanity, um, because it goes into, uh, they do it to gain more power in this reality, like the rituals, but it also is to bring that universe where the reptilians were created to the Watchers closer to our universe. So it's like a merging of two worlds, like the rituals that come from Freemasonry. And that's how they brought in lots of yucky energies. And I suppose it's the ego, isn't it? You're talking about the mental mind that it wants to be more powerful and wants to know things, and wants to learn not from oneself but outside of oneself, maybe because it's frightened to see oneself, so it's like the fear of self that's probably driven it. And I was the programming was to be really frightened of myself, but the more I learn about myself and the more I've learned over the years, there's nothing to be frightened of. Light, it's just beautiful. Yeah. So, and it's knowledgeable and way more intelligent than any secret society can give, so it's, don't be frightened of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. I agree. And I guess let us know and our audience know about your book, where they can find it, your Patreon, what you offer, all that stuff. And, kind of tell us a little bit about that and how people can find you and sign up and all that.
Yeah, bless you. Thank you, Tyler. So I have my website, which is findthelight-rb.com. I've got I teach people. I've got a seminar in January where I teach people how to connect to themselves, how to do what I do, basically. Then I'm doing clinics like anxiety and depression clinics. So if you're struggling with that, then come along. Or if you've got chronic pain, I help people with that and understand that everything that happens within your body, disease, is actually something that's mentally and emotionally going on with you. So I help people understand that and how to heal themselves. I have a Patreon site, Find the Light on Patreon. So this is where I do extra videos. I do question and answers every couple of months. I've got big healing groups. They tend to be always booked out, but you pop on, you may get a space. So, and I do one-to-ones. I am fully booked, but it's just looking. I try and put as many as I can, but on my website.
And then your book is available on Amazon?
Oh, yes. It's available on Amazon and Kindle, and you can also download it on Patreon. It's called One Set of Footprints.
It's called what? I'm sorry?
One Set of Footprints.
One Set of Footprints. Okay. I bet you that's a fascinating read. I will definitely have to pick that up. And we'll put those links below. If you send me the links, we'll put them in the description. Thank you so much for joining us today. I would, for one, love to set up a session with you. Even if there's a wait, I'm going to get on that list because I really resonate with how you tap in and where you're coming from. So I'd just be curious. I deal with some chronic pain that I'm very interested in understanding. So we'll have to set that up sometime. But thank you for joining us today. This has been a pleasure. Powerful. I think we covered a lot and some really deep understanding of what's happening on the planet right now. And Aaron, did you have any final words before?
No, just thank you so much for coming on. And it's been you're a powerful force, and keep doing it. Keep on your mission. And thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Tyler. It's been amazing. Thank you so much. Let me ramble.
No, it was great. It was really, really great. You help. I think you provide a very deep understanding of the darkness and what's occurring and how to pull out of it. And down, you just speak truth from the heart. I mean, you can't go wrong. And I feel that. So I appreciate that. And I just love what you're doing. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Until next time, guys, have a great evening. Thank you for being here. We love you, and we will see you next week. Good night. Hey guys, Journey to Truth is going to Hawaii. Join us in 2026 for Journey to Truth's first ever vacation conference on the Big Island at the beautiful Queen Emma Community Center in Kona. Enjoy Hawaii as we travel to sacred sites and connect with our Lemurian past and reactivate the land. It's time to get our bodies moving and take a boots-on-the-ground approach to the awakening. We'll also be making a trip to Volcano National Park to pay our respect to Pele, the goddess of fire. We'll then journey to the water for an ocean adventure with our multi-dimensional aquatic family. We'll gear up and head to the harbor as we set sail under the sun for an activating day on the water while we experience the Hawaiian ocean life like never before. Enjoy Hawaiian sunsets and walks on the beach while connecting with Soul Family and learning a few things from our amazing lineup of speakers. Aloha! Grab your ticket today at journeytotruth.online and join us for this once-in-a-lifetime activating getaway.